Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome to the 61st episode of The Recast. I am joined, as always, by MonstersReview.
What's up, guys?
And we are joined by first-time guest, TheRealJims.
Woohoo! Hi! It's TheRealJims.
Yeah, we've had the fake Jims on a few times, but we have not gotten the real one until now.
Oh, you should tell me more about that. There's somebody impersonating me.
So yeah, we have a Simpsons Krusty-tastic episode comparison going on later in the show today, but before that, we are going to be covering some streaming-related news, all streaming news all the time. And even before that, we got some introductions and corrections to be doing. Okay, so first, Mr. Jims, you're just like a tad outside of the usual sphere of people that we bring in. Would you like to just kind of briefly introduce who you are and what you do?
Sure. I mean, I'm surprised they don't know who I am, since I'm an internet media mogul and all. But, with my 50,000 subscribers. I don't know if that sounds like I'm bragging or not bragging. That's not bragging, by the way. I run a channel called TheRealJims. It's a really terrible name for a channel, but it covers The Simpsons, where I do reviews of The Simpsons episodes. I also do these videos where I talk about Simpsons mysteries, which are basically like game theory videos, but for The Simpsons, and also my videos are good. No, I'm just kidding. Matt Pat's fine. I just like to razz him sometimes. But and then also I do these Simpsons Showdown videos where I compare one versus another and decide which one's better. I also do these seasonal retrospections, and then I do these character history videos, which I think, like, to tie things in here, PIEGUYRULZ actually came up with kind of the idea to do the Simpsons Histories episode. Like, he made a comment saying, you should do this, and I was like, oh, great idea. And then I started doing it, and people really liked them. So thanks, Pieguy.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm a really big fan. All right, cool. Monsters, you want to tell people who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the self-proclaimed #1 Camp Laszlo fan.
Okay, that was a joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a Discord server, the Recast Discord server. It's on Discord. All you gotta do is click the link in the description that says Discord, and you can come and talk to us and have all sorts of discussions about the stuff that we talk about and just basically whatever. Monsters, do we have any corrections from last week?
Yeah, speaking of the Discord, that's also where you can call us out for being wrong. The first one is from the user Too Busy to Come Up with the Username. Great name, by the way. I believe this was from YouTube. And they corrected us in saying that spooky instrument, whose name that we couldn't come up with, is a theremin.
Which is really crazy because a theremin is featured in one of the episodes that we get to talk about later.
Sure is.
That's a coincidence and a half.
Oh, yeah. And then the other thing, just an observation, people had cool input and a variety of really interesting ideas. Our rotating segment last week was us kind of coming up with our own hypothetical Cartoon Network themed events, kind of in the vein of Invaded or Crossover Nexus. And, the people on the Discord came up with some really cool ideas.
Cool. So go there to read them.
Yeah.
All right. So it's time for news.
Before that, can I do something?
Oh, of course, friend.
All right. By the time this is out, it'll be belated, but Mr. Pieguy's birthday has come around. So if everyone could wish Pieguy a happy birthday, that'd be great.
Happy birthday, Pieguy.
Also that.
Oh, and thank you very much, Monsters. You got me an Amazon gift card. You did not have to, but thank you so much, man.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't get you anything, Pieguy. I'm sorry.
You got me your amazing reviews and your existence, sir. So.
Okay, that's a deal then.
So, I don't know if you guys have heard about this thing. It's called streaming.
Streaming? What's that? I only have cable.
Well, then you're probably prime Simpsons audience.
I've never had cable in my life.
Nice. So yes, so obviously we're getting very, very close to Disney Plus coming out. In fact, we're doing these Simpsons episodes in part in honor of Disney Plus. So they're kind of releasing a little bit more information, although pretty much everything there is to be known is known at this point, for their launch anyway. But also, not to be shown up, HBO Max had a huge presentation where they talked about what's going to be on their service and their pricing and just their model and announced a lot of special things. So we're going to try to go over the highlights, just the stuff that kind of matters to us. So first, just to kind of go over the basic stuff, the service is going to be priced at $14.99, which is like double the price of Disney, but still not too bad. I think it's $1 more than Netflix is right now.
Yeah, and that's how much HBO Go is, or HBO Now is right now. So
Right, and anyone that already has that is getting upgraded to this. It's coming out in May of 2020, and they're targeting 50 million domestic and 75 to 90 million premium subscribers by 2025.
Jeez.
Yeah, they're also going for quality content is what they say. I mean, obviously everyone's going to say that, but if you know anything about kind of the history of HBO, is that I've always kind of gone for something labeled as premium. And regardless
Yeah.
of how you feel about HBO in general, certainly some really ambitious and I guess genre smashing shows have come out of that service. Things like Penn and Teller's show in particular. I really love that one. A lot of really hard hitting documentaries have come out of HBO.
The Sopranos, The Wire, Game of Thrones, Barry.
Very ambitious, very different stuff. And so it makes sense that HBO Max is going to be continuing in that line. Additionally, that they are going to bring in content from Warner Brothers, New Line, DC, CNN, TNT, TBS, True TV, Turner Classic Movies, Adult Swim, Crunchyroll, Rooster Teeth, Looney Tunes, and Cartoon Network. So that's good. That's just good in general. I didn't know. Does Warner Media own Crunchyroll, or is that an acquired or like a partnership thing?
Right.
I'm not sure. I feel like they don't, but not positive on that one.
It also says that they're going to offer a robust selection of third-party acquired series and movie titles. So it really does seem like HBO Max is going to try to soak up anything that isn't owned by Disney already. So I don't think it would be really that surprising if they bought Netflix at some point in the next 5 years. I think Netflix is probably going to have to get bought by someone, to be completely honest. But that's just my personal thoughts.
Crunchyroll is owned by Warner.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So Warner owns a company called Otter Media, and Otter Media is the company that owns Crunchyroll, Verve, Fullscreen, Rooster Teeth.
Okay.
So.
Say what you want about Disney, but at least they're pretty forthcoming with what they own. Like, at least we kind of know. There are certainly some pockets that they don't really advertise too much. Like, I don't know how much we'll be getting Family Guy Disney promotions.
Doubtful.
Well, yeah, I think Family Guy just had actually the episode that the BoJack joke was in was about them like retooling for Disney or something. But Disney's very, very proud to have Simpsons on their streaming service, and Family Guy can just stay on Hulu.
Is Hulu even going to be around in the future, I wonder? Because it kind of feels like Hulu's kind of pointless these days, since like Disney and HBO are around. Like, I feel like HBO can just take all the Cartoon Network content it wants and like make Hulu just completely pointless.
Well, so here's the thing. Hulu's in this weird spot because Hulu originally, as I understand it, I mean, it was a home for like a lot of shows and owned by a bunch of different companies together. And then kind of as it evolved, it seemed to be the place to watch new episodes of shows like next day. But now, since a lot of things are dropping next day on these services anyway, it doesn't really have that purpose.
Yeah.
The weird thing, and here's an example, Rick and Morty, right? Very popular show. Adult Swim, obviously owned by Warner. That is going to be coming to HBO Max. However, at least according to this one site, Rick and Morty's also staying on Hulu. It's going to be on both.
Huh.
So it might just be that the license agreements with Hulu were just kind of like for long term, and Disney now owning a huge percentage of Hulu doesn't change anything. I don't really know. Maybe Hulu's going to turn into this like sampling platter for all these other streaming services.
It's really weird that they would keep it open because it's like Disney owns, what is it, half of it at this point?
More,
I think, controlling.
Yeah, more than half?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like why would they keep, like they're opening their own streaming service. It seems really odd to me that they would keep like not a competing business, but like a complementary service. You'd think, like knowing how Disney is, that they would try to just conglomerate everything into like one direction.
It happens all the time. This is a bit of a far-fetched example, but in like toiletry products with Procter and Gamble, they have like a bunch of competing brands that they own.
It gives the illusion that there's competition. But more importantly than that, I do think that it's just they want a way to have things like Family Guy and Deadpool, and well, actually, I think Deadpool might be coming to Disney Plus. But they want a place for their more mature content, and I think also they probably do have the license to all these Warner shows that they just don't want to lose for no reason. So I don't know. I mean, I think you're right in that in the coming years, Hulu is going to become more and more redundant, but I think I see the need for it right now.
They're also getting the Animaniacs reboot.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting, but I guess that's very fitting because Animaniacs originally aired on Fox, and it was only moved to Warner Brothers' own channel in its like 4th season. Back to HBO Max. A lot of that stuff that we saw promoted as Cartoon Network programming, like the Fungies and Tig and Seek, those are coming to HBO Max. Now, we don't know if they're exclusive to that and not going to be airing on Cartoon Network. We don't know if they're going to be like premiering on Cartoon Network and then just kind of hosted on HBO Max. But in their big press release, they did definitely highlight both the Fungies and Tig and Seek. So that's interesting.
I think they're calling them HBO Originals now, or HBO Max Originals. They did the same thing with Infinity Train.
Okay, interesting. Even though it was not originally from HBO Max as an HBO Max original.
Right.
Additionally, they're putting all their Looney Tunes cartoons and stuff, and to me at least, it looks like I don't know what they're doing with Boomerang or DC streaming service because it looks to me like they're putting most, if not all, of that stuff already on HBO Max. Are those services just going to be a cheaper alternative if you only want those very specific things, or are they going to be phased out entirely? I'm not sure.
Honestly, I think they should put a lot of that stuff on there. Like, I think what was it? Netflix said that like kids shows was one of their biggest, drivers of traffic for a while. If HBO wants to be this premium service that we're The Sopranos, we're Curb Your Enthusiasm, like getting moms like putting on shows for their kids all day long, like it's got to move a lot of traffic for them. So it'd be foolish not to put it on there, to be honest.
HBO does have Sesame Street.
Oh, that's true. And I mean, I've been very critical of the Boomerang streaming service in particular, and yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Like, it makes sense for families to have HBO Max and put that content on for their kids. Parents aren't going to pay like $15.99 a month or $8.99, however much it was, just for Scooby Doo for their kids. Like, there's other services that have more diverse programming. On that note, one of the new projects announced was Jellystone from C.H. Greenblatt.
Oh yeah, I love Steve Greenblatt.
Creator of Harvey Beaks. He worked on Great Adventures of Billy Mandy. He worked on SpongeBob. Yeah, super talented guy. And
Chowder.
All right. No, but the thing is, he's been burned by both Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. So it's nice to see him moving to a streaming service, which is still owned by Warner. But like, hopefully, fingers crossed, this time maybe he'll have like a little more freedom and not be completely screwed over in the end.
Yeah, and with the cast of characters in this show, I feel like this might be a passion project of his because even though they're not fully original or anything, these were the shows that were airing when he was presumably a child. So I'm sure that he has a lot of deep-seated nostalgia for it and care for it.
And the art style is adorably doodly.
Yeah.
Like from the one promo image we got, it's got a good look to it. And it also, based on the premise, it looks like it's going to be like Cartoon Network City, but for Hanna-Barbera characters, because it's all these different Hanna-Barbera characters that are going to be in the town of Jellystone.
Is the idea for the show to just reboot all these characters for a new generation? Because like even when I was young, like those characters were super old when I used to watch the cartoons. So it really must be a passion project. It sounds like, because like I don't know, like not to knock Hanna-Barbera, but they're not the most. Yogi Bear is not the most super relevant guy these days.
Did you grow up with Yo Yogi?
I think I watched a little bit of that and I was like, no, thank you, and moved on to something else.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it definitely seems like a way to brand these old characters in a hopefully great way. I like the new Looney Tunes stuff. I think they did a great job with that, and this seems to kind of be a similar approach for Jellystone. For the Hanna-Barbera characters. Another cool thing they've got is a half-hour comedy series called DC Superhero High, which is about a bunch of superhero students navigating the pressures of high school and being heroes. And I love this because I don't like the CW. I don't like their superhero shows. I hate that they're obnoxious, angsty, boring, dark-looking shows. However, this seems to be basically like that, but the opposite, where it's instead just kind of like this parody of like teen soap operas, but with a bunch of superheroes. I don't know. Could be fun. Was there anything that particularly excited you, Monsters?
Overall, I can say that from what they announced in this press release, it got my hopes up because, to be quite frank, I wasn't really planning on getting the service. I've had HBO in the past, never really dabbled with Boomerang or anything like that. But upon first impressions, they just said, yeah, we're going to have a library that has some Cartoon Network stuff, blah, blah, blah. They announced a couple of exclusives, like that one show from the girl from Big Bang Theory, Kaylee Cuoco, about a flight attendant. It just didn't seem like it was really hooking on.
Okay.
But this has reinstated a lot of confidence from me towards this.
Okay. It's still very early. And I mean, I think that the point of this was to show that, hey, we're here and we're doing what Disney Plus is. That's essentially what they're doing. They even say that they're going to have different like sections, content hubs for clusters of content from recognizable brands, right? Which is kind of like what Disney's doing with sectioning Pixar and Star Wars and Simpsons all off into kind of their own little corners that you can easily click and find all media under that umbrella.
You know what's odd too? I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that South Park got picked up by HBO Max.
Right.
South Park.
Yeah, and that's a Viacom show. Viacom CBS, who are merging together, directly competing with Warner.
Well, that's the thing, because Viacom is just this bizarre. They're choosing to play all sides, which I feel like is just working out the worst for them because they have no home.
Yeah, because they have, for their CBS shows, they have CBS All Access, but like, who has CBS All Access? Like, people who really like Enterprise and The Twilight Zone and Big Brother live feeds, I think.
It's like ad-supported streaming television.
Yeah. So, like, are they suddenly going to consolidate all of their Nickelodeon content onto CBS All Access? Like, that's not happening.
Some of it's on Verve, which is also owned by Warner.
It's on Pluto TV, it's on Verve, it's on Amazon Channel, it's on some of their stuff is on Hulu. Some of their stuff, yeah, some of it used to be on Netflix. They're content not having a home for their stuff, which I just think is the dumbest thing ever because if you put SpongeBob as the face of a streaming service, it'll sell a ton. But what do I know? Jims, was there anything in particular that excited you?
Of the originals, not really a lot, to be honest. Like, if I do get the HBO service, probably a lot of it would be me just catching up on things that I've missed a few seasons on, like catch up on the last couple seasons of Rick and Morty, for example. Watch the Studio Ghibli movies that I haven't seen, for example. Things like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Aren't they partnered with Disney?
They have been in the past. Like, I remember Ponyo was released in America by Disney.
I think they were released, and I think they even did they do the dubs as well? Because I know they hired, like, for Totoro, they hired the Fanning sisters, I think, and that was Disney.
With Ponyo, it was the Jonas Brothers' youngest brother and then Miley Cyrus's little sister.
And didn't they get Tina Fey for that one too, I think?
They had some good casts and also some
I
Disney
don't remember.
people.
So are those dubs going to be on HBO Max if Disney produced them?
Yeah. I don't know. See, this is where we get tricky, right? Where it's like who owns what. But yeah, I mean, that's enough to be excited, I think. But yeah, of course, my big thing was the Adventure Time specials that are coming. So, oh boy, there was never any sign that Adventure Time was coming back especially after they canceled the comic. But apparently, they're coming back with 4 new specials. They're going to be hour-long specials, and they're going to focus up on different characters from the show. Having this like outer space theme, I believe. They didn't give a lot of details, but one of them is going to be about BMO, which worries me because I like BMO, but BMO can hardly hold an 11-minute episode as the protagonist. I don't want him for an hour personally, but maybe they'll do something good. They're going to do one where they dive into the past of Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, who the show had to dance around the fact that they had some sort of relationship in the past. Because, LGBT, Cartoon Network, and the mid-2010s. But since now we're on HBO Max, and since they kissed in the finale, like, are they going to actually go for it and have a whole backstory where they actually dated or flirted with each other or what? Or are they going to still dance around it? Like, I think that could potentially be a really fun and interesting story, but I also think that could potentially be frustrating because when you answer something that was never really answered and kind of only danced around, the answer could just be very unsatisfying, compared to just teasing it. So there's Wizard City, which is going to be about Peppermint Butler, who I've never been that interested in as a character, and I don't like his whole, like, tee-hee-hee, I'm evil, but I'm actually a good guy, but I'm actually evil. I didn't like that, so I'm not looking forward to that. And then the last one is just, like, Finn and Jake reunite, which that could mean literally anything. So, but they definitely sound interesting. They definitely sound like a bold, different way to tell stories from the show because we've never gotten – the only thing that we've ever gotten is a 44-minute finale. We've never gotten an hour-long anything from Adventure Time. We've only ever got mini-series, maybe like 2-parters, 3-parters, 4-parters, but we've never gotten an hour. So hopefully it works for the show. Fingers crossed. But that is exciting to me, definitely. It definitely shows that there's going to be interesting stuff coming to HBO Max.
Yeah, did you hear about that show called Tuned Out?
Oh, the live action one.
Yeah, it's like Space Jam, but a TV show.
Right, by Zemeckis.
Yeah, people were joking because it just from the elevator pitch, the log line, it seems a lot like Out of Jimmy's Head.
Oh no.
Things get a little cartoony for Mac when he starts seeing iconic cartoon characters, but they're not just there for laughs. They're helping him get through a very rough patch in his life.
I mean, that's...
Does he have a sister named Yancey?
Oh, I like Zemeckis. So hopefully it's more like that show Happy, which got really good reviews and was kind of dark, about a guy who sees a cartoon character. Anyway, other things confirmed for HBO Max are the Iron Giant, Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, Clarence, Looney Tunes cartoons, Scooby-Doo, Tom and Jerry, Dexter's Lab, Victor and Valentino, Mau Mau, Craig of the Creek, Apple and Onion, Ben 10 Alien Force, Regular Show, Long Live the Royals. Hey, maybe someone can finally actually watch that.
Right.
Flintstones and Steven Universe and We Bare Bears. So, and this isn't all of them. This was just kind of like what was shown as far as CN schedules noted. Yeah, it looks like hopefully they're opening up the floodgates at least a decent bit on Cartoon Network stuff, because we really have not had a great way to watch some of these shows, as evidenced by last week when there's like nowhere to watch Billy and Mandy, and really not great ways to watch Ed and Eddie and other things.
Yeah, hopefully they keep the floodgates just keep going, because like there are a lot of people out there in their 20s and 30s who are nostalgic and like, you know, just are looking for things to watch. So like, why not just tickle people's nostalgic bones and then introduce a lot of younger people to these shows too?
All right, are you guys ready for me to get on my soapbox?
Yes, soapbox.
Here we go. Okay, so there's been this narrative out there that there's going to be too many streaming services, and that it's just the end of streaming services because it's going to be exactly like cable. Monsters, I'm pretty sure you've said something similarly in the past.
Yes.
All right, look, you know, people, you guys have the right to form your own opinion on this, but I would like to just point out that, like, please actually look at what's like actually happening instead of all of these weird fear-mongering articles that are like streaming is dead and streaming is the new cable. Because like the thing about cable is that like super expensive. Generally, if you want like all the channels, you're paying over $100. You're locked into a contract, usually for at least a year.
There's commercials.
There's commercials, exactly. You're at the whim of the providers in the area, right? If your one area, local area one is expensive, then that's what you got to get because you got no other choice. There's a lot of downsides to that have no implications in streaming right now, because right now all of these services, as far as we know, unless something changes in the future, you can cancel them anytime you want. There's no contracts.
Yeah.
Even if you were to get, let's say you were to get HBO Max, Disney Plus, let's say you kept Netflix, you kept Hulu, I don't know, you got Verve or something, you're still only paying like $60. I'm not saying that's cheap or that everyone should do that, but it's like, that's still a lot cheaper than most cable packages if you want all the channels. You're not limited by where you are locally, except for international people. Again, this is just speaking for people in America. I can't speak for any other region. But just, yes, you know, there are going to be more of these services popping up, kind of, but like, it's not cable, guys. Like, did you have to pay for cable? Did you actually like have to ever deal with that, or are you just thinking that it's going to be more expensive and there's going to be more, so it must immediately equate to being cable? Because until they install commercials in all of these services that you're already paying for, until the prices go way up, until you're locked into contracts, I'm sorry, but it's just really not anything like cable.
All these services are completely optional too. Like cable's still going to be around. Like I don't think streaming is going to kill cable immediately. Like what I view this as is now you just have more options, where if you're like a 25-year-old person moving out from your parents' house, like, and suddenly you don't have your parents' cable anymore, now you have the option to keep watching some of your favorite shows. Like, you don't have to pay the $15. You don't have to get Disney Plus, you know. You could get Disney Plus, like, watch all your stuff and then cancel. So, from my point of view, like, you know, there's no contracts involved. You can just pop in, pop out whenever you want. Like, I feel like as consumers, we should at least be happy to some degree that we have more options now.
Right. I'm absolutely not saying we need to just bow down to these corporate overlords with however they do their streaming services, because things could absolutely get bad in the future.
Oh, for sure.
What I am saying is just that the way HBO Max and Disney Plus have both done it, they're giving us tons and tons of content when they could have been a lot more stingy. Disney has had a history of explicitly being stingy with its DVD releases. They didn't opt to do that. I understand that everyone wants to just pay the low Netflix price and get literally every piece of content under the sun, but that's just not realistic. And also, like, just because these providers are taking back their content for Netflix, they're probably not going anywhere after that. Like, Disney owns the stuff on Disney Plus. Warner owns the stuff on HBO Max, except for whatever some things they don't. So once the stuff is taken back, it's not like it's going to be shifting around every month to all these different services. And also, to counteract the whole idea that there's like too many streaming services, it looks like HBO Max is going to kind of kill like the Boomerang service and the DC service and maybe Crunchyroll. It looks like, if anything, this might be reducing. It's worth whatever you think it's worth paying wise, but it's also important to remember that, like, what's the thing that like HBO Go was famous for? The fact that like everyone shared accounts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So why is it going to be any different now, right? If your dad or uncle or whoever has Disney Plus already, they encourage family sharing. It's not that every single human is now going to have to pay $23 or whatever to get both Disney Plus and HBO Max, because that's never even been how it's been. I just feel like people have kind of they want everything and they want it to be cheap, and they don't like that it's changing, and it's still relatively cheap for the amount of content you get, in my opinion. It's still pretty simple in that HBO Max and Disney Plus, across the two of them, you're getting just a giant chunk of the amount of content that exists on this planet. Yeah. Okay, there's my soapbox.
I mean, trying to get into the psyche, I can kind of understand, because at least when cable was a thing and streaming didn't exist, you kind of did have most media all in one place. So it is a bit more fragmented. But like I said, or like you said, yeah, like most people, at least from like Gen Z and millennials that grew up with cable, never paid for it. So they didn't have that experience.
I don't want to be like judgmental or weird, but just like, if you've already pirated like 90% of the media you consume, you were never getting these services anyway. So these companies don't care. I'm sorry, but they don't care that $14.99 is too expensive for you, because compared to free, if you don't care, you're always going to go with that free option anyway. Like, HBO has proven that there is an amount of people over the past few decades that will pay a quote unquote premium amount for premium content.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the bad thing about it being HBO is the fact that HBO does view themselves as a premium content provider.
Yeah.
Like, HBO would never decrease their price down to, like, let's say $10 for their streaming service, because they view themselves as, we are The Sopranos, we are like Emmy-winning programming, So really, like, the only way that I think we're getting screwed is the fact that, like, all these Cartoon Network and all these shows are ending up on HBO, which will demand a more premium price than, like, if they ended up on a different network, for example. 15's a lot of money for, like, one platform, so I can see why people might be grumpy about that, but at least there's a lot there if you get it.
Of course, anytime you have to pay more for what you perceived you were getting in the past for a lower amount, even if you weren't getting all this content, it sucks. I understand that. There are people that are like really pushing hard on this narrative that there's just going to be a million streaming services and you're going to have to pay thousands if you want to see everything. And it's like, no. Listen, I love BoJack Horseman. It's like my favorite show of all time, and it's a Netflix exclusive if you don't count Comedy Central at the Blu-ray releases. If after I cancel my Netflix subscription, if I still want to go back and watch that, I can pay the $12, $13 for 1 month of Netflix, watch BoJack Horseman, and then cancel it. Is that super, super convenient? Not necessarily, but if I want the convenience of not having to pay for a year of Netflix, then that's like fine. Like, getting to hit cancel is I don't know. I feel like at least we have a lot of options now.
The fact that you're saying that canceling is a pain, like, your alternative in the past was calling the cable company and playing that game with some poor telephone operator to cancel, Like, I mean, just going on the website and canceling is just thousands of times better than what it used to be.
Plus, like, think about all the great content that has arisen from the streaming wars.
Yeah.
Like, people trying to outdo other streaming services by having those exclusives down.
Think about how great it is that HBO Max is genuinely trying to compete with Disney Plus, because now both of these companies are going to have to compete to get your attention. It's not going to be Disney Plus comes in and their price is ridiculously low and they have so much more content than everyone else and they just steamroll over everything. Now there's actual competition. And it's also nice because, in my opinion, just me personally, I want to get both these services because I don't feel like they overlap in exactly the same way either, even though they are competing. But yeah, I mean, even if I wasn't interested in getting Disney Plus for the indefinitely, it just is nice that I can like pay $7 and decide, like, you know what, today I want to watch Sleeping Beauty for whatever reason. I can pay $7, watch it, cancel the service.
Why'd you pick Sleeping Beauty?
Because I was watching this makeup tutorial where they did. Never mind.
That brings up even more questions.
Listen. Here's your plug, Glam and Gore. Look it up, kids. Okay, moving on to Disney Plus. There was a Simpsons promo for it, another one.
Was there?
I wanted to include you because I didn't know how interested you were in the HBO Max, and I had opinions on this as well. But would you like to describe what that plug was that the Simpsons did?
Okay, so the Simpsons did a little, what was it, like 15 seconds they posted on
Very
Twitter?
short, yeah.
And it was basically just like the different Simpsons characters dressed up as characters from Disney's different brands. I think Bart was Mickey Mouse, Homer was Iron Man. What was Marge? Some princess?
She was a Bo Peep.
Oh yeah,
Toy Story.
And then like Lisa was like a National Geographic mountain.
Yes,
Which that was the one funny part. I'll give them that part. And then Maggie was Yoda, I think.
which had no connection as far as I can tell, other than that they're both short.
I mean, Maggie just looks cute as Yoda. I get that one. But they're just like kind of like Bart was just grumbling about not wanting to do it, and Homer basically is making them do a promo for Disney, and they just like do like a picture or something, and the camera flashes. I made a very angry and bitter tweet about it earlier this week.
Old man yells at social media account.
Yeah, the whole thing makes me just really super depressed in a lot of ways, because a lot of me, like, this was really naive. Like, I admit that this was naive up front, but part of me was like, Disney bought The Simpsons. Like, I saw what happened when they bought Star Wars and Marvel, and they rolled that out kind of classy in a way, you know, where they're just like, they kind of let those properties be their properties.
They did with Marvel, not so much with Star Wars, but continue.
Yeah, I guess.
Sorry, not to.
I guess.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I now that I think about all the Star Wars things, yeah, that's probably fair. But
they let Marvel do Marvel's thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we're kind of in that era where they're promoting Disney Plus, and it's just kind of sad to watch watch the Simpsons characters basically be marketing puppets for this entire month, because it's really just kind of putting front and center, like, I hate to say it, I love The Simpsons, but they're kind of sellouts, like, all the time. Like, The Simpsons has always embraced being a merchandising, like, mania. Like, that's what they are. They're not Calvin and Hobbes. I've given this speech plenty of times on my channels. They're not all about, like, the artistic expression. Like, they are in the business of making money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this is really putting front and center that's like, oh, The Simpsons are a marketing arm of Disney now, and that's what they are. So I got kind of depressed earlier and made a bitter tweet about it.
Even though I'm kind of against the narrative that there's too many streaming services or that they're like ridiculously priced or anything like that, I am absolutely 100% on board with like criticizing these companies and the fact that they already own everything. Like, I think having the streaming services are nice, but the fact that they own things is still scary. Yeah, I had kind of a similar feeling to you in the sense that the thing is that The Simpsons has always been very biting to Fox.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course. Like, but the thing is, as far as I understand it from the commentaries and stuff, it's not like Fox told them, hey, put a Fox joke in here. Can you make fun of us some more or anything like that? It's that they made a Fox joke, and the censors, they didn't care because they don't really give notes on The Simpsons.
When they first started The Simpsons, that was one of Matt Groening's conditions, because the Fox was a brand new network back in 1989, and he could get whatever deal he wanted. And one of the notes, one of the parts of the deal was, you can't give us notes. We have creative freedom. So yeah, they did whatever they wanted.
And I mean, I'm trying to think of any particular examples of The Simpsons, but the one that brings me is the from Futurama, when they get uncanceled in the first movie, when they have this long spiel about how the people at that company are morons, or idiots, and then there's this joke about executive powder.
Oh, the Box Network.
Right, yes, the Box Network canceled us. What kind of brain dead morons would cancel? Like, they really lay into Fox in that. But at any rate, yeah, they've always kind of had these biting comments, but like here, it feels like Disney is forcing The Simpsons to do this, but still trying to have it both ways. They're still trying to make them kind of shills for Disney, but at the same time be like, wink, wink, we're still making fun of Disney, but they're making fun of Disney in just the most pathetic way. Like, there's no biting comment about anything. It's just like, ha ha, we have to conform to Disney or else they'll cancel us.
Part of me wishes that they just did it straight and been like, we're on Disney Plus, hooray, right. You know, like this whole kind of half measure of they're making us do it, let's stick Homer Simpson in an Iron Man costume. Like, it's just so like trite, and it is totally what The Simpsons would make fun of. It's like if you were just thinking, what would The Simpsons do? And you're like, oh, they would make some sarcastic promo. And then that's exactly what they did. There was like no spin to it at all. It was just sarcasm.
But yeah, and I mean, even like someone posted from the Simpsons movie, this Bart's got the bra on his head, and he's like, I run an evil company. Like, he makes some jab at Disney years before they were owned by Disney.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is something that kind of rings a little hollow. And I mean, look, on its surface, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you agree that this is not like the biggest crime in humanity. But I do think that if you do study this stuff, if you do look at this stuff, and you are looking for any sign that the Simpsons are being used differently now that they're owned by Disney, this is definitely a sign of, yep, they're a marketing tool for Disney now.
Yeah, and to be clear, yeah, this was more of kind of a general gripe of like, oh, I have to sit through this month of Disney Plus rolling out, and I have to see these things. Like, someone in the comments actually questioned if The Simpsons would change as a show, and to be honest, I really doubt it. They didn't change Marvel dramatically when they bought that. Everybody freaked out, but then they didn't. So I don't see them changing The Simpsons dramatically, like the actual show. It's just the here and now of having to sit through the promos. Just as kind of a bummer right now.
But I will have to say, being able to watch The Simpsons on a video player that the just abysmal, what is it, Simpsons World?
Yeah.
I hate that player so much. I mean, it's great that all the episodes were on there, but the player was awful.
Well, I like also that they at least give you the option of 4x3 or 16x9.
Yeah, I just mean that it like stuttered for me and crashed and...
Yeah, there wasn't a quality option, so it would like fade in and out between like low res and then high res.
Did you guys watch it for this review? Did you guys watch Kamp Krusty on the FXX website?
I did.
Okay, was it working for you guys? Because I sent an at message to them on the Twitter because mine wasn't even working. Like half the screen was being covered up by the popularity of the episodes, and the other half, like I got the top half of the screen and I couldn't get the rest of it. And I tried like every browser on my computer.
I zoomed out. That's what I had, a similar issue, and I zoomed out, and then that enabled me to hit the full screen button. But yeah, the elements on that site are like bizarrely out of proportion and cover up content. I mean, I care about fixing it now because it won't be a thing in like a week and a half, probably.
Yeah.
This isn't Disney Plus news too, but Gigi Quintel's Close Enough finally got a release date. Or I don't even know if it got a release date, but they said it's coming to HBO Max. It was in limbo for a long time because it got announced and they had a trailer for it and everything in 2017, but it was supposed to air alongside a new Louis C.K. cartoon, and obviously the Me Too stuff happened, and then it got shelved along with the Louis C.K. thing, so it was kind of in limbo for a long time, but yeah, they announced that it's coming to HBO Max, so if any of you liked regular show and are interested in watching it, it should be coming out fairly soon.
I'm interested. I liked regular show.
All right, well, we are going to go on our break, and when we get back, we're going to be getting crusty. And we are back. So, we are going to be talking about the Simpsons episodes Kamp Krusty and Kamp Krustier. Now, I failed to give this warning last week because I kind of forgot what Kamp Krustier was about. But just a fair heads up right now that the episode is about adult marital things going on between Homer and Marge, and we're not going to be explicit or anything, but you know, we'll be talking about the episode. So if that is off-putting to you, then there you go.
That was the least awkward way to say that.
Was that sarcasm or just because
No, I'm just kidding. It's an episode about snuggling.
Okay, so the first episode is the premiere episode of The Simpsons Season 4, and it is about Bart and Lisa going to what they think is going to be this amazing summer camp, but just like all of the other Krusty branded products, like the Krusty brand pregnancy test, did not quite live up to how it was advertised, and it's basically just a complete nightmare dystopian camp that they have to, well, I can't even say escape because they get rescued, so...
They have to suffer.
They have to suffer through, yeah.
It's about 10 minutes of suffering.
Yes, there's a good suffering montage in there. Boy, this was the first time I'd seen really old Simpsons in a very long time.
What year was this released in? Like the mid-90s?
Yeah, probably 94 or 95.
Wow.
Yeah, because I know the first season was like 1990.
Yes.
So yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, it looks good. It doesn't look like season 1 Simpsons, but it's still noticeably old.
Yeah.
I think this was still when they were with Klasky Chupo. Was doing the animation, because I think it was a season 3 holdover episode, so I think Klasky Chupa was still doing it.
Well, the most notable thing about this episode, and like probably this would come as a surprise if you don't know this fact, Monsters, did you know this was going to be the Simpsons movie?
No, really?
Yep.
Wow. Well, I'm glad we got Spider Pig. No.
Simpsons Mania was huge from the jump. You know, it wasn't this kind of show that needed like a few seasons before it caught on. Like, first season... it was a hit, so much so that they reran those like 11 episodes over and over and over again. I don't know this from my memory. I saw someone made a video on it. I don't know who. Who did I watch that did that?
I have no idea. I'm gonna assume it's one of mine.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, so it was a very popular show. So by season 3, season 4, the network wanted a movie, and basically this was the script that was going to be turned into it. However, they had trouble making it into a 22-minute long episode, so. they scrapped it as a movie because they couldn't figure out how to make this an hour and a half.
Yeah, the commentary for this episode on the DVD is literally like the showrunners Al Jean and Mike Reiss laughing about how they couldn't even make a 22-minute episode without padding the thing for time like crazy.
Yep.
Like, it takes them like 9 minutes to get to the camp. They had to pad it out so long.
Yeah, they're not at camp until halfway into the episode.
Yeah, and this was supposed to be like a 90-minute feature.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they would have done more with it, presumably, but the fact that they couldn't, it's just, yeah, I don't know, it's strange. You would think that maybe, like, Homer's Odyssey or something would have been the one that they would have wanted to make a movie out of.
The one where he tries to kill himself?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Homer's Odyssey? What a dark episode.
The one where he goes to space.
Oh, okay, yeah, Deep Space Homer.
I'm sorry.
When you said Homer's Odyssey, I was like, he picks up a boulder and was gonna throw it off the bridge. I like how you said Homer Odyssey, and the first thing I thought of was Homer trying to kill himself.
Thankfully you corrected me, because anyway, my point being, you would have thought that they would have wanted to make a bigger thing, because, like, you know, the kids going to camp is like a neat story, but like I wouldn't have wanted to see a movie about that. Granted, I guess if you were to tell me the plot of the Simpsons movie as is, I don't know that I would say that I would want to watch that either, but the Simpsons movie is what got me into the show, so.
For the next Simpsons movie, they should make a movie where Bart and Lisa go to camp where they cover it in a dome.
That's going to be Kamp Krustiest.
Oh, God.
Which they've threatened. But anyway, about Kamp Krusty. Yeah, so it's weird because this episode is not like a great story, like in the sense that the beginning part with Bart and his grades just doesn't mean anything, especially because he doesn't even achieve what he's trying to achieve, and he still gets to go to camp, and then they're at camp and they suffer, and then Krusty just shows up out of nowhere to rescue them. Like it's like a non-story.
Yeah.
Right?
It's told in a very weird way too. There's so much cuts and so many like different setups and scenes within this episode.
Yeah, well, there's a whole B plot with Homer and Marge where, with their kids off to camp, they're having a more fulfilled lives, and Homer starts to get more in shape and gets more hair and all that stuff, and then it just kind of just farts out of existence.
Yeah, like the payoff for the whole thing is he sees Bart on TV and just immediately gets fatter and loses his hair.
Yeah. Now here's the thing: even though I think that this episode is not like great as like a story narrative with a beginning, middle, and end. Let me know if you guys get this feeling. But I get the feeling that this episode is not really about telling this story as much as it is trying to capture the feeling of last day of school, summer vacation where you go to a camp and the camp doesn't turn out what you want it to be. Your parents get to enjoy child-free life for the first time in a while. And like that's just it. It's not really about telling a story. It's about just kind of capturing a moment in childhood and exaggerating it, obviously. I hope none of you or anyone in the audience had a camp experience quite like this. But certainly kids have seen promises of the camp being in a nicer condition than it was, thought that they would have a great time going to sleepaway camp, and then were miserable. Like there's a joke in here where Marge reads Lisa's letter about how like they're in, you know, they're being tortured, and Marge is like, oh, they'll miss it when they come back. Because it's like...
Oh, that joke's amazing, because it literally, like, the letter ends with, like, save us now. And Marge and Homer are so stupid that, like, they don't realize that their kids are being tortured.
But it's a play on the fact that I'm sure that's happened. I'm sure parents have gotten letters from their kids, like, a week into camp, like, Mom, come take me back. Like, I want to go home. And then, you know, they go on to love their experience.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could think that, like, when they're saying that they're working in, like, sweatshops and stuff, they could think that they're exaggerating, I guess.
That's what I got out of it. You think
No, I just think they're that stupid.
I mean, Homer definitely is. Marge might be. I don't know. But yeah, what'd you guys think about the story of this one?
I'm going to let Monsters go first, since he is not as familiar about The Simpsons.
Yeah, it was interesting. It felt fast-paced, and I don't know if that was because it was fast-paced or just because of how many things happened in this 22 minutes.
I felt it was slower for a Simpsons episode, but maybe that's just...
Yeah, I don't have
What do you
that
think
frame
about
of
that,
reference.
Jims?
I think it was kind of slower. There wasn't a lot of plot beats, I would say.
Mm-hmm. All right, continue, Mon.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like it just felt like it was thing after thing after thing. It didn't necessarily feel like it was one thing leading into another thing. It was just like it almost felt like a bunch of little segments.
Not only does Krusty show up out of nowhere to save the day at the end, but there's like this running thing where we keep cutting to Krusty for like no real reason.
Oh, at Wimbledon.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's funny, and, you know, he does show up at the end, so I guess it's important to introduce him in the story earlier, but it's just kind of like, there's just a lot of weird things going on in this episode.
There's a lot of sitting around in this episode.
Do you feel like if he didn't show up until later, that it would have made the reveal more satisfying?
I mean, I think him showing up at the end is a big darn hero's moment, no matter how you slice it. To be honest,
I think he probably needs something in the middle because, yeah, it really is very Deus Ex Krusty at the end, which he has done in other episodes.
Krusty and the Machine.
Yeah, basically. So I think you kind of need those scenes, but like the problem is that you kind of have a C plot at that point, and it's getting even more unorganized. So I don't know really how you fix that without the episode just being all over the place.
And it's not like Krusty really goes through an arc where he feels guilty or anything. He just kind of like doesn't care and then doesn't know and then he's told and then suddenly he cares.
Yeah, and then Tijuana.
Right. Right.
I agree with the sense that that the plot doesn't seem to have a lot going on. I like the point that it is very like just little tiny vignettes all over the place. It's like now we're going to do a Kamp Krusty song where we see a bunch of little things, and then later we're going to do a letter where we see a bunch of different little things. Like a lot of them are just, it's like very montagey. A lot of the camp stuff. There's like not a lot of individual like actual schemes of them doing things. Like we see them like with a dangerous boat, but we don't see like a boating adventure, which becomes a problem with the later episode we talk about, ironically. But yeah, like if you compare this to like the thing I was thinking about was, do you guys remember that Disney movie they did? It was a live action Disney movie called Heavyweights they did in the 90s. It was about a fat camp.
I do not.
It was like 95, I think. It had like Kenan Thompson from SNL in it.
The fact that you say Kenan Thompson from SNL tells me that you're probably older than both of us.
Oh yeah. Exactly. But anyway, like that movie, like it has a lot of individual beats and stuff where they're just like, in this scene they're doing a prank on Ben Stiller's character. In this scene they're trying to sneak in chocolate and doing like the kids are like trying things. Whereas this episode, they get to the camp, they get kicked around by the bullies for about 10 minutes, and then they basically rebel in the end. Like there aren't a lot of individual things that Bart and Lisa really do. They just suffer.
Right. And that's the thing. That's kind of where I struggle, is that if this is like in a traditional narrative, having Krusty show up at the end, it is unsatisfying, right? I mean, even though they have overtaken the camp, they're still not really like rescued. They've now just created like a Lord of the Flies situation, which happens a lot with those kids. And then other things like Bart not achieving the grades that he needs to achieve, or even tricking his father. Like, it's a nice moment that Homer lets him go, but from a story perspective, it just kind of makes the beginning feel it makes it feel unearned. Yeah. So I struggle with it in that sense, but I did enjoy this overall.
I do like the point that that Homer makes that that he really didn't want the kid hanging around. That like he was kind of calling his bluff in a way, and just being honest. I do kind of like that funny point of view, because I bet our parents did that all the time. They would encourage us to do things, but we were going to get it either way. So I kind of like that Simpsons angle of it.
It was a genuinely sweet moment between Homer and Bart that you don't see all that often.
Although then he makes him put his hand inside the mower.
He didn't make him do that. Luckily, the mower released before then. One thing that I will say, and I guess this is typical Simpsons in its prime, is that the just kind of offhanded gags were so on point in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, everything from the bear pushing the student on the swing in the background of the Krusty commercial.
My favorite joke was the one where they finally rebelled and they were unwrapping the packages, and that kid yelled, "My insulin!"
Right, Homer mowing over like the just random things in the backyard.
It's like a roller skate.
Right, it's the hose. The kids not using the trash can when they're throwing stuff out of their lockers. Like, it's just so incidental that if those jokes don't work for you, then the moment is over. You're not sitting there thinking, wow, this was an unfunny joke that I just witnessed and they're still dragging it on. If it didn't, it might not have even registered, and it creates a lot of rewatch value. It's something I appreciate a lot in like earlier SpongeBob, and it's definitely something that's present all over early Simpsons with sign gags and everything galore.
I think this is like a kind of a low-key good Lisa episode too. And that she has that thing at the beginning where she gets her first B and is like leaning on her teacher's hand really angrily. And then is like making fun of Bart because he didn't forge plausible grades instead.
Yeah, there's a lot of personality from Lisa in this one.
Yeah, she's good in this one.
I love the lottery joke. Like it's a two for a punch because it's Homer telling Bart that he has to earn things in life, right? You can't just get it handed to him. And then he's immediately playing the lottery, of course. But then the real joke is that every time there's a number called, Homer like grunts, and then he gets one number in the middle and woohoos, even though that means absolutely nothing for him.
Hey, you got the fourth number right. That's pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess if I think camp episodes of The Simpsons, this is the one that's going to stick in my mind the most. It definitely did get like the whole, if the point was to do the whole twisted summer camp thing, then they definitely do it. Like they hit all the points, but in a twisted way. Like, you know, your mom's sending you cookies from home, but haha, the bullies ate the cookies. You know, singing a camp song, but it's just this awful song. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, the town drunk showing up instead of your hero. Like typical camp stuff, you know.
Oh, and Mr. Black. We got to talk about Mr. Black.
You mean Kent Brockman's like younger form?
Oh, you think he's like Kent Brockman?
Doesn't he sound like Kent? He sounds like Kent Brockman.
He does kind of sound like him.
And he's got similar hair but black. Like I was thinking he was like his son, but it clearly, I mean, Kent Brockman shows up. So is it Shearer?
I have no idea who plays all these characters.
It's Shearer's area. Clearly we're thinking of the voice when they were doing the other character too. Anyway, what do you have to say about Mr. Black?
Oh, he's just awesome. I love the opening with the, and now welcome to Mr. Black. Like that joke has just been stuck in my head my entire life. I don't know what it is about that joke, but it makes me laugh every single time. Just the delivery of Mr. Black over and over again.
My favorite, and it's another point of just a completely incidental line, and this goes absolutely nowhere. But there's just a second where it's him and the bullies, and they're eating, and he's like, "Gentlemen, too evil," and then it immediately cuts away. Yeah. It's like the pace of that joke was so good.
But that was what Monsters was describing, because they literally cut to them for like a 4 or 5 second scene, and then they just go away.
That's true. I guess like in plot it's slow, but in terms of jokes, it's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Oh, well, something I always love is that, like, I don't know how many times this shows up, but I know it shows up at least, like, 3 times, is that, like, Krusty's pacemaker, superfluous third nipple, and his birthmark. That, like, I know it shows up in the one where he pretends to be a fisherman. I know it shows up in the first Real Krusty episode, the first Sideshow Bob episode.
Oh, yeah, the pacemaker.
That's like, if you need a way to resolve a Krusty plot, you need to like acknowledge his superfluous third nipple. And I don't know why I find it so funny, but just I guess the fact that they always say like, oh, and his well-documented like if you had a celebrity that you're a big fan of course you know that they have a superfluous third nipple. Why wouldn't you?
After the kids like tore off his shirt, wasn't he just like, not as bad as Customs?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. This can be a dumb question, but that isn't possible, right? You can't have a third nipple.
You can.
Mutation.
Can you? Really? Like, yeah, I didn't know if this was just a wacky Simpsons joke or if that was actually like a genetic abnormality or something.
And it's actually, I believe it's relatively realistic the way The Simpsons does it, because it's not like you'll have like a third pectoral muscle or whatever. It's like there's just like another little tiny nipple looking thing that's like right underneath the first one or something like that. I'm talking a lot about this as if I have one. I don't. Don't worry, guys. I don't. And if you have one, it's okay too. Don't worry if you have one.
We are not nipple shaming on this podcast.
The more the merrier.
But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's a real thing. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm crazy. Are pacemakers a real thing?
Yeah, I think so. They're for like heart attacks, right?
Something like that. Another really great exchange between Bart and Lisa is, we're all gonna die. Isn't that how everyone ends? No, we're gonna die soon. And then Bart's like, yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, that's a dark joke.
I'm not delivering it in the right way, but that exchange was like, good Simpsons one-upmanship. Okay, there's some, in terms of early installment weirdness, this is a really uggo Ralph Wiggum, if I've ever seen one. His head shape is weird, and they did not get the hair right. Like, ugh.
The weird thing in this one was that they actually do call him Ralph Wiggum in this episode, because he wasn't originally supposed to be Wiggum's kid. And in a later episode this season, where he like tries to go out with Lisa, they decided that he was going to be Chief Wiggum's son, and they even reveal it in that episode. But in this one, they do call out Wiggum, and he does like reach up for his package. So I guess it must have kind of been in the works, or maybe it was an animation error or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
You're right. Some of the character like models are not. Yeah. There's a reason why they got rid of Klasky Chupo, I think.
Aw, poor Klasky Chupo. They never get.
I know. I'm saying that, but I really liked their animation on The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm. They do a good job on Duckman. Their animation fits that show. Another weird thing is that like Martin is considered fat. Like yes, his character design is chubby, but only in the sense that like most Simpsons like if he's going to fat camp, then Bart should go to fat camp too, in my opinion. I mean, I get that it was just like a joke and they needed an established character to go to fat camp, but I don't know. It just kind of seems weird. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he has always been considered really fat.
Oh, yeah, Bart is definitely about as fat as, like, all the kids on the show are pretty fat. Like, Milhouse
All
is
the males
pretty
on the
fat,
show
too.
are pretty fat.
Yeah. It's an American sitcom. Yeah, I'm calling out our whole country, dang it.
Oh boy. Yeah, the fat camp also like that's there, but that doesn't serve any purpose.
Well, that gruel joke is really good, though, when he's, like, scraping the gruel out of there at the end.
Mm-hmm. In general, I think that it is an episode that is definitely funny. Like, absolutely. I no doubt about that. I've got some gripes in the story department, but it did really kind of make me feel like I was, a kid again doing the last day of school and worrying about report cards and going to camp and stuff like that. Like, it did kind of feel right in terms of capturing a feeling, which is not something I would really expect from The Simpsons. Usually, I don't know. I don't know that they... I guess they kind of try to capture moments, but usually they're... I don't know. Never mind. Ignore that point. I enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed the chill vibe it had.
No, I think you're right. It's a very impressionistic episode. It's just a lot of little vignettes, like a lot of little feelings, not really plot heavy, just a lot of funny jokes over and over again.
The kind of thing that you probably wouldn't make a sequel episode out of.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, no. I don't know why anybody would do that.
Well, Monsters, what did you think about this overall, then?
It was decent. I mean, yeah, there were funny jokes. The amount of things that were happening did kind of catch me off a bit. Like, it kept my attention, but it didn't feel too cohesive. But maybe that was just kind of the entire point.
Mm-hmm.
But no, little side gags were good. It's kind of hard to understand these characters and like understand where they're coming from or how they'd react or get little references from side characters when you're not invested in the show.
Of course.
But yeah, it was funny. It was decent.
Yeah, solid episode. Like when I did my season 4 rankings, I didn't put it in the top 10 of the season, but it's like very middle of the road for season 4. Very solid. Just a lot of really funny jokes in there. I don't think it's like the funniest episode of The Simpsons, but it's solid all the way through. It's not super emotional either. So I guess that might be what you could argue maybe a problem with it, is that it's not really like a laugh a minute. It doesn't really have that heavy hitting emotional moment in it either. But it's just solid.
It's a jack of all trades episode, right? Because it's not the funniest episode, but it's got good jokes. It's not the best in terms of like having emotional moments, but it does kind of capture a moment in childhood. It's not the best story, but it definitely still holds your attention. Like it does everything decently enough that holds it together as a solid episode, but none that makes it elevate to beat other things, especially in season 4.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, about say 24 seasons later. When can you ever say that sentence? Yeah. About 24 seasons later, apparently someone on the writing staff decided that Kamp Krusty was not fulfilling enough as a story, and we need to add on to it. So we got Kamp Krustier, which is a story about... It picks up where Kamp Krusty left off, kind of. Bart fakes having PTSD to get out of going back to school, and then he really has PTSD, because apparently they thought that they were on a raft where someone died, but he didn't. And then also, Homer and Marge don't have that special fling that they had over the summer, and it's causing Homer to get up earlier and go to work and be more focused because he's not as interested in Marge.
Yes, that is the PG way of saying that.
Yeah. This is something.
Do you get the sense that they just had an episode idea that they put together and then they kind of wrote it backwards, where they're like, maybe we could tie this into Kamp Krusty? It does kind of feel like they just had a concept.
I could see it.
And then they just like tied it in at the last second.
Can you tell me, does this epitomize modern Simpsons, or is this a bad example?
Oh, in terms of quality and like...
Yeah.
Kind of.
I guess.
Like.
What do you think, Pieguy?
Okay, in the sense that, and this is my biased, my opinion, but just in the sense that it didn't make me feel anything, and I wished I had turned it off halfway in. I would say yes.
It almost kind of felt like one of those Peter Lois like relationship trouble things.
There's an awful episode of Family Guy where Peter also abstains from things, and Lois does something not so nice. And I was a tad afraid that's where this episode was going. That's a rather infamous episode of Family Guy. And Marge comes a little bit close to not being cool with No Means No, which is,
Well, she broke that in another episode, which we're not going to talk about. But luckily she didn't do that here.
Right. Oh, God. Well, at least no pandas were harmed.
Yes. At least we saved the pandas.
But yeah, this episode is like, it's so, yeah, I guess it is, because it's also like, it's like The Simpsons trying to take on something that's being discussed, right? PTSD. Except it doesn't have anything to say about it. It almost, Bart's story feels like a Cartman episode of South Park. Cartman takes advantage of, like, transgender issues to become trans and get his own bathroom, right? That's like Bart. Bart takes advantage of being PTSD. Like, I mean, it's not like I'm not saying Bart wouldn't do this, but it just kind of feels like it's written in a very, like, South Park way, except not funny or like as dark or biting. There's no satire about issues related to PTSD or how we treat people with PTSD or anything. It's really just, this is a topic that people are talking about. Let us shoehorn it into Simpsons episode.
You mentioned earlier that they didn't call out the Tijuana part. Do you think that the ending of the first episode, Kamp Krusty, leads to a good PTSD discussion? Because they definitely did go through a lot of trauma, but the end of the episode is kind of a happy ending, even if it's silly, that the kids have a good time in the end. So like you mentioned, it is odd that they don't call out we were in Tijuana, but we had a really bad time. Like some kind of argument like that. Because it does come off a little weird that they would do this after the end of the last episode.
Yeah, it's like a retcon of the last few seconds. I mean, listen, spending like a weekend in Tijuana with Krusty probably isn't the best environment for a child. but
No?
in the terms of the Simpsons, that was a happy ending. So yeah, it does kind of feel a little retconny to be like, well, actually, they're traumatized and stuff. But the thing is, they're not even traumatized.
The funny thing is, realistically, they probably would have been traumatized if you just think about what happened to the kids. Like in real life, they would have been traumatized even with the Tijuana. But just from a narrative perspective, it's weird.
This episode wants to have it both ways, in that it wants to be a sequel, right? It wants to tie to a recognizable episode. Even if Kamp Krusty isn't like one of the best or episodes, I would still say that it is memorable, and I nostalgic, I guess. They want to tie it to that, but at the same time, they also want to make their own thing. And it's like, I respect the fact that they didn't want to just rehash that too directly, but at the same time, it's like, why invent this whole new thing about they were on the canoe and there's a kid that it just feels like, what's the point if they're going to make that up anyway? Like, you could have changed about 3 lines and this would have nothing to do with Kamp Krusty. Well, not 3 lines, but you know what I mean? If you change the words Kamp Krusty, you could have just made this any other episode. I appreciate that they were trying to do something a little different narratively in tying it to an old episode, because The Simpsons doesn't really do a lot of sequel episodes, aside from Treehouse of Horror. I just feel like it's like the worst of both worlds in that it's just kind of like, it reminds me of Kamp Krusty, but it doesn't play with it in any fun way.
We talked about how there wasn't a lot of plot to Kamp Krusty, and like, that's not such a bad problem when the jokes are so good.
Of course.
But it does make it kind of difficult to do a sequel episode because it doesn't give you a lot of things to tie in with. Like, they had the canoeing scene where Lisa observes that the canoe is really, like, dangerous, but then they cut away. They don't do anything with that plot point.
The canoe explicitly breaks. I'm not saying there's no other canoes, but yeah, it's not that Kamp Krusty directly contradicts anything in Kamp Krusty, but it just kind of moves the goalpost a little bit and just changes it just enough to kind of do whatever they feel like doing, which just kind of makes it feel like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Part of me was wondering, how do you like fix the episode in a way while watching it? And I honestly don't know how you fix it though, because there really is nothing to latch on to in the plot where you can be like, oh, in that scene in Kamp Krusty, I wonder what was happening then, just because it's so all over the place. So instead they kind of have to invent this whole like cabin docking room, with the life vests, and then this whole other character that we never even saw in the first episode. So I get why they had to do it. It's just the original source material just didn't give them a lot of good options. It doesn't feel like.
Well, I mean, I agree. I would not have picked that episode to do it, but if I had to make an episode out of it, I would have. You could have maybe just had it set explicitly from Marge and Homer's point of view. Maybe just kind of tell that story again, but more fleshed out, which they kind of do. They partially do.
Yeah.
You could have potentially just set an entire episode during their nightmare time at Kamp Krusty, right? Just expand upon that montage and create some sort of like more complicated narrative. Now, I'm not saying that would have gone over well. Maybe it wouldn't have, but you could have done something. But yeah, just the way they do it feels weird and tacked on. So I guess to get into it, like the whole thing is that Bart fakes PTSD until he gets PTSD, which
and then Lisa also has it, but pretends like she doesn't, so that she has perfect attendance at school.
It's very weird. I don't know if the Simpsons understand PTSD, to be completely honest. Most of society probably doesn't. But yeah. So the thing is that there's this reveal, right? That they didn't even really do anything. They were just kind of in proximity of a kid who probably drowned, which don't get me wrong, is traumatic, but it's like, maybe have the characters at least like have some hand in this to make it feel a little more like they're involved in something, like Bart and Lisa were fighting over which way to steer or something. And in the struggle, the kid gets knocked overboard or something. Make it a real Lord of the Flies situation. No, but like, I don't know, make them feel a little more responsible rather than just like, oh, there were rapids and this kid fell overboard and then we never saw him again. And then like, but the worst thing is about this episode, in my opinion, is that like they tell this story and then it's like a minute later in runtime. It's no longer than like a minute and a half. And we immediately get the resolution of like, here's this complicated explanation of what really happened. It's like, this wasn't a mystery, right? It's not a mystery if you explain it immediately after. It's just a question immediately followed by an answer, right? Like, where's the tension? Where's the suspense? They're not solving any mystery. They're just flat out told.
I agree. I think they introduced the whole Charlie character way too late in the episode. It comes about, like, Bart has this dream about, 10 minutes into the episode, I think?
Yeah.
And it really isn't, like, haunting enough. Like, it's not, like, a real mystery. Like, there's not a lot of substance to it. Like, the very next scene, the whole family goes to Kamp Krusty, and they investigate the dock and then basically find him. And there's a complicated explanation there. The pacing is really strange. I kind of wish they yada-yada'd some of that like therapy stuff at the beginning and maybe introduce the dream up front so we could kind of maybe get a sense that Bart is traumatized by it, but he's kind of trying to play it cool as well to get out of school. I don't know. There's probably a better way you can pace the whole thing.
Yeah. And then this is all like confounded by the fact that they're trying to do this like PTSD story. And then the other plot line is that Homer doesn't want to be intimate with Marge. And Marge is like more concerned with the fact that Homer, like, it's like Marge feels at times more concerned with Homer not wanting to be intimate with her versus her child being traumatized, which doesn't feel right.
Yeah, she really doesn't care anymore, does she?
She cares at the beginning.
She's not involved in the plot.
Yeah, she cares at the beginning. The reason why they drive to the camp is, the first reason isn't because let's help Bart out. It's we need to fix this issue so that her and Homer can be better partners. And it's just kind of like, dude, you know what? If Homer's happier and more fulfilled, like, I mean, I don't like why it just feels like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to sound stupid saying this, but it's just almost like, it just feels forced. It feels dumb. It feels really regressive in the sense that, like, her or man needs this element to be satisfied. And if Homer isn't getting that, then clearly he is not happy in his life. Whereas he actually seemed the happiest he'd ever been.
Oh, yeah.
Though I understand what they're trying to do. And, like, Marge and Homer are, an eternal couple, of course. And I'm not saying that what Homer did, like, Homer was also emotionally closed off to her, too. Like, he wasn't being a good husband in general. But they don't play it like that. They play it like it's this intimacy issue, and it's weird, and it's weird to conflict that with the Bart and Lisa story. It's just weird. Why did they do this? What is the point of this story?
I don't think the Homer and Marge stuff, like the actual character arc, was conveyed particularly well either, because like they gave us a good explanation for why they couldn't be intimate because of Bart basically having PTSD. Like, that makes sense. That's a good jumping off point.
He was in the bed keeping them up, and also Marge was worried about him, and so was focused on that. Makes sense.
Yeah,
right? Makes
but
sense.
then in
Good
the later
setup.
scenes,
yes.
like, basically when Bart and Lisa are doing their thing, they have that scene in the bathroom where the kids are at the amusement park with Grandpa, and like there's basically no reason for Homer and Marge not to get together in that scene.
Well, Homer seems to equate which this really feels like a dark, cringy corner of the internet that most people don't like or want to think about. But it's just like the whole like, well, I need to be separated from the woman to fully realize my it feels like it's like that sort of cringy like Homer's like a he can only achieve his peak Homer intelligence when he's celibate, and it just that's a really regressive, pathetic way to look at relationships and intelligence and everything. And I get that it's a comedy, it's a dumb comedy show. I get that, like, but just kind of what they're putting forth doesn't. I don't know that they thought it through.
I was starting to wonder if the episode, I don't mean to bring the P word into it, whether it was almost like problematic in a way, because it's almost like they're suggesting that Homer is now asexual for a little while, where like he sees Marge being sexy, but he's like made this oath to be like a good worker and can kind of turn off his libido in a way. And I was like, is the argument that he can turn on like, you know, that like asexuality, is that problematic? Like, I don't know.
This is
like
deep analysis for a really stupid episode.
I know, it really is, but it really didn't make sense why he's suddenly not interested in his wife at all during that scene.
Right. It's like, it's good that Homer's like not thinking about like not having his mind focused on that one thing allowed him to think and do other things and actually put effort into his job. That's a good jumping off point, but that doesn't really explain why he can't still be a good husband and why he can't still, you know, do what he physically wants to do with Marge. It doesn't explain that. It's just like, well, the episode has Homer not doing this now, and he's smart because of it. It just has weird implications that I don't like.
It feels really arbitrary because by the end of the episode, they're like at the lake, you know, by the lake, and like Marge is like kissing him, and then like suddenly like he like flips the switch, like the little brain guys in his head, they start going, and like it's just really weird. It's like, what's the difference between that bathroom scene and the one later? They don't really convey what the difference is very well.
It's later in the story.
Act 3.
It would have, honestly, in a meta way, it would have been funny if Krusty had showed up to solve their marital issues. Like out of nowhere. Yeah.
Let's go to Tijuana. That solves everything.
See, that would have been funny. That wouldn't have made sense from a story perspective, but who cares, because it would have been funny and tied things up. You know what I mean? Like,
I think I would have liked that ending better.
It would have been ironic too, because everything that Krusty makes is broken.
There's a minion in this episode.
Like a Despicable Me minion?
Yes. When they're at the theme park, there's a minion costume for a second.
Oh, the red vest one?
I think so. I don't know. It's a minion.
That means they're at Universal.
Well, they were at Six Flags, so I don't know. Maybe it's a different pop culture referencing that I'm not understanding because it's now like 4 years old. I'm pretty sure it's a minion though. I will be fair and say that I did laugh at a few jokes in this episode, like the Chief Wiggum stomping joke. It's such a dumb joke, but it made me laugh.
What did you guys think of that bloodshot eyes joke with the whiteout and stuff?
No, thank you. I'm good. Did you enjoy it?
No, but I tend to get squeamish around like eye pain jokes in general.
Yeah, I really feel like the whole "don't try this at home" kids was like modern Simpsons got a nail in that joke. Like, it's not enough that Bart is doing something imitatable to kids. You have to put the text at the bottom of the screen telling that. Like that's what I mean when I say like background gags in Kamp Krusty, because you could ignore them or, you know, you might not even realize they're there. But when you have a lot of the jokes in this episode are very, very front and center. And so if you do not find them funny, you're stuck there sitting and watching Bart paint on his eyes and then white out over his eyes. And then the text has to appear. It's just kind of like, get on to the next thing, please.
Speaking of text, what do you think about the fact that they were aware of a Kamp Krustyist?
They actually threaten it. And I think they say, what, 2035 or something?
Yeah, something like
2055. Yeah, it's far off, but I mean, probably not far enough off.
They reference like television's gonna have like no ratings then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 0.00001 rating, number 1.
Yeah.
I just thought that was like a threat. I didn't find it funny. I was like, oh, they're gonna do this. They will. They'll get there.
We'll see you guys in 20 years, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll have a recast reunion where we talk about Kamp Krusties, where like I don't know, the new issue is that like Homer and Marge no longer have physical bodies and they want to be intimate. And
Well, now we're just getting in Futurama territory.
did you guys laugh at anything?
Monsters, did you have anything?
I didn't have anything written down.
I wrote notes, I swear. Let me look at what I wrote
No,
down.
you're good, man. Did you print them out?
No, I just...
Did I hear a physical? Oh.
Paper noises.
Paper.
Do you have to get your journal of Simpsons notes?
I have this giant like green notebook where like I'll sit in front of my TV sometimes and just take notes because I want to get away from my computer sometimes. But no, anyway, that was like a weird tangent. I kind of laughed at the Mo Deviant joke with the lady robot just because it was so over the top, stupid and crazy. Like it kind of made me laugh. Like sometimes if you just really go for a joke, you'll get a laugh out of me. I liked Lisa in that scene with the red vest when they're at the amusement park where she gets on the ride and she's like, I'm getting on again, and then runs by again. She was really good in that one.
That was good. That was about the only thing Lisa does in this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, she's there.
Oh, she also had that other line where like Bart wakes her up and she's like, can you wake me up later? And he's like, okay. And then he like comes back in the morning. I thought that was kind of cute as well.
Yeah, that was cute. I wouldn't chalk that to funny. I would chalk that to cute, especially because Lisa's like, thank you for waiting.
I'll take cute. Cute is good these days.
Yes. Actual emotion, evoking any emotion out of me from a modern Simpsons episode is a win in my book. Okay, the joke about why Microsoft is named Microsoft kind of got a dumb giggle out of me. A dumb, immature giggle.
Wow, I hate to admit it, but I did not get it, like the pun on Microsoft, until you just said that. That's sad.
There's an epic rap battle reference to that as well. So that joke is anyway. There's also
this is why they put words on the screen so that people like me will get the jokes. So maybe I'm contradicting myself.
That's what we need. We need a closed captioning, but then we also need like writers closed captioning where it's just like, see, the point of this joke is that this happens here. And this is a reference to a Minion, which was very popular in 2016.
As you can see, the writing staff here is making fun of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Did you think they were making fun of it, though?
No.
Were they?
No, they weren't making fun. It was just included.
I mean, at least they didn't outright mock it.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot say that there's anything that this episode did better than Kamp Krusty.
Which episode do you guys think had the better couch gag?
Well, the first one was the Flintstones, and the second one I cannot even remember.
Was it like pinball machine or something?
Oh, it was the pachinko.
Oh, the pachinko, where Homer eats a pachinko ball.
That was cute.
Or chokes on
it. Yeah, I mean, I'll take like weird off-model Flintstones, personally.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I'll go for the Flintstones. One of the things they do these days a lot, Monsters, is they do these really long, extended couch gags that take at least a minute or two. So it was actually a pretty short couch gag for modern Simpsons.
Yeah, I saw the Rick and Morty one that they did a couple years ago.
Okay, that one was sick. Like, the thing is that the couch gags tend to be the most artistically valid part of any current Simpsons episode, in my opinion.
Well, they'll bring in, like, guests usually, right? Like, Banksy did that one.
Right.
John K.
Oh, there was Lazy Rider, which was Easy Rider, but like this really cool 80s like.
Oh yeah.
It's very popular on YouTube. It always gets recommended.
It was kind of like Miami Vice-y, kind of.
Right. Yeah. Kamp Krusty wasn't very good.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
It's definitely not. I wouldn't say it besmirches the name of the original. At least it doesn't drag the original's name through the mud. It doesn't directly like contradict a ton of things. It kind of sidesteps around things like Tijuana, but it doesn't directly spit in the face of it. And at least they didn't try to just tell the same exact story again. So I guess I'll give them some points in terms of that. But overall, Kamp Krusty, though not the greatest Simpsons episode, is still just an example of how even when an episode isn't particularly amazing, even in that era, almost always in that era, it still shined. It still was really funny, and it still leaves somewhat of an impact on you. Whereas Camp Krusty, like I said, I remembered this episode existed for the purposes of making this recast, but I could not have told you anything about the plot details before rewatching it. And I did watch this episode a few years ago. Nothing at all came to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Camp Krusty is clearly the superior episode here. The thing that really kind of bummed me out about this one, I don't want to sound too down on it. They've done way worse episodes of The Simpsons.
Absolutely.
Like, this was just pretty mediocre, I thought. But the thing that bummed me out was it really did feel like The Simpsons are an old show by watching this, not just because of the whole time thing with the 20 seasons.
24 seasons
like, that's
later.
definitely going to be a problem, let's just face it. But,
yeah,
like, I just feel like the mentality of the episode is stuck very much in the past, where The Simpsons is a show that's very status quo, where they kind of got developed into this, like, set in their ways where the show never changes. We always go back to the status quo. Like, we don't care about the details. Like, the Simpsons house can move around Springfield. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. But they're making this sequel episode in, when did this come out? Like 2015?
Yeah, 15 or 16.
Yeah, and they're making it in the world of an era where those little details matter when you're trying to connect things together. Like, we live in a world
17,
of, like...
actually. Sorry, more recent than that, 17.
Okay, 17.
Dang.
But we're living in a world like where a show like Gravity Falls came out, where they're really detail-oriented about the lore and stuff. Whereas this episode kind of took the usual Simpsons attitude of, well, it doesn't matter if the bullies are there rebelling with everybody else, because, like, that's just a nitpicky detail, and... Like, I get it. Like, that's not a big detail. We haven't even talked about it, you know?
That's right.
But they live in this world where those details do matter, and when you're doing a sequel, those things become more important. You can't just call it a sequel and then not get the details correctly, or, like, people are going to notice, and it's going to feel really weird. So a lot of it felt like just a very old mentality of the show, that they just don't care about getting the sequel right. And I don't know, maybe I'm just a nitpicky internet person. I am a nitpicky internet person. Like, just listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that part really bummed me out, that the attitude of the show was they just didn't care to get those details right. And I wish they did a little more.
That's the exciting thing about a sequel episode, right? Is how can you add on to this story? And it just feels like they didn't. You know, again, I don't think any of us would have picked Camp Krusty to be the episode that gets sequelized. But you know what? Some of the most well-known and loved episodes of the current time period of The Simpsons are the episodes set in the future, which are indeed sequels of each other.
Yeah.
Holidays of Futures Past and whatever the other ones are called.
It goes like Holidays of Future, I think.
Something like that. And of course, those are somewhat sequels to Bart of the Future and Lisa's Wedding and all that. But the more recent ones they've done in the future are direct sequels that pick up where they leave off. And those are very well known and very well loved. Doesn't that say something when the only way to make this show fresh and interesting is to advance the characters in time and actually develop them? And people responded well to it, and yet they're still very, very, very apprehensive about doing that. The only time they seem to be able to do it is in marrying Ned Flanders off, but that doesn't seem to work out for them, unfortunately, for reasons beyond their control.
I mean, I'm all for the show just doing status quo changes. Like, I'm really in the camp of, I'd rather they just do experimental, weird stuff that maybe doesn't work than to just kind of fade away. Yeah, I guess I'm using the burnout versus fade away argument here.
That's what happened with SpongeBob. You know, it went through a burnout period, and currently it's making some very, very weird episodes. And, you know, some of them stink a lot and some of them are really good, but they're getting people talking and people interested. And it's so much better than the era where they would just pump out episode after episode that just kind of leave people feeling eh. And that's kind of where The Simpsons are. Although there definitely have been signs that they might change or they might do things differently. There has been, like, I guess, more continuity now than there ever was, or there's more willingness to do things like another hour-long special like they did with the Weird Gatsby episode.
Yeah.
They'll do an episode that's out of continuity, but not a Treehouse of Horror episode, like where they get abducted by aliens. There is some flexibility, but they're still producing like 24 episodes a year, so it doesn't really show when there's like 23 other episodes a year that have this level of just shrug to continuity or doing anything different. How about you, Monsters? How'd you feel comparing the episodes?
Yeah, Camp Krusty was clearly the superior one. Rehashed at its finest with Camp Krustier. It did add stuff, but the stuff that it did add felt really inconsequential and not important. Kamp Krusty, in my opinion, was the funnier episode. I can't say I'm too impressed by either, so if any of you watching have any particular Simpsons episodes recommendations for a newcomer, let me know, because if I get around to it, I will try to watch some Simpsons episodes. But yeah, they were decent. But I do appreciate Kamp Krusty a lot more.
What do you got, Jims? What would your ideal introductory episode of The Simpsons be? And don't you dare tell me Simpsons roasting on an open fire.
Stark Raving Dad.
Stark Raven Dead. You can't even watch that episode. Ooh, the best introductory episode. What would be a good one? Like maybe
Monsters. You would definitely like 22 short films about Springfield, but I wouldn't say that would be like a good introductory episode.
Okay.
Like Monsters, do you like really like grounded ones with some emotion in it, or do you just like really wacky gag heavy episodes?
I'm not, probably a little bit of both. I will say that that Conan O'Brien, who formerly wrote for The Simpsons, is one of my favorite people, and I also love Phil Hartman, so I'm sure I'd probably like some of the earlier stuff.
Okay, we should give him Marge versus the Monorail, because I think Conan wrote that one.
Yeah, of course. And you'll get...
Am I wrong on that? That would be really sad if I was
No, you're
wrong,
right.
but...
You're right.
Okay.
You're definitely right. And yeah, that's one that people reference constantly, so if you got to watch one episode, that would be not a bad one. I would also just say King Size Homer. Just a personal favorite of mine that I think is a funny, weird episode.
Yeah, that's a good one. Homer gains a lot of weight.
You should watch Homer's Enemy first. That should be the first one, right? I think that's
Homer's Enemy.
That's the. You should watch Homer's Enemy first, and then watch Homer's Odyssey.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And see him kill himself.
Right. Just The Simpsons, but it's only episodes where Homer is suicidal. Also, if you want to watch something from, I can't even say that it's modern, from the middle seasons, Eternal Moonshine of the Spotless Mind, I want to say it's called.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I understand that reference.
There you go. All right. Well, we have a few viewer comments. I'll read the first one. We have from Mike L.
Michael? I don't know.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's Michael. Probably. Kamp Krusty is an absolute classic. The rebellious humor of classic Simpsons is rife in this episode. The best examples being Mr. Black and the bullies being a toast to evil, and Marge's stock motherly response to Lisa's "I no longer fear heck" literal cry for help. With Kamp Krusty,
Yes.
however, there is a major problem if you compare the two. It's a total retcon of the original. No mention of Tijuana. Homer snuggling less now makes him more productive, despite it helping him lose weight and grow hair in the original. Oh, that's a good point.
Oh yeah. Inconsistent.
Krusty being completely careless now. No mention of the bullies. Only a failed cameo where they're also rebelling along with the kids. And the inserting of an unnecessary character. It's hard to ignore this when the episode starts with, "Meanwhile, back in season 4. Yeah.
The Simpsons tries to go back then and give the illusion that they're that good still.
Well, that's the funny thing, too, is that they could have done this in, like, season 8 or 9, and the animation wouldn't look too different, but it's, like, obviously now there's a huge difference in visual tone of the show.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying you can't do a sequel episode because of that, but I am saying that it's a little more jarring.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, Michael brings up a good point, the rebellious humor of The Simpsons. I got a big feeling of that in Kamp Krusty, especially the beginning. I love that opening where Bart just has this daydream where, like, Skinner's like, "Burn the school down," or something.
School's
and then they
out for summer. Got, like, the flamethrower.
Yeah, it's very, very Simpsons-y. Okay, Monsters, you want to get the next one?
All right, this one is from Employee a Million, and they say, Kamp Krusty, while far from my favorite episode, is decent and stands on its own. I like the Homer subplot and the background art at Kamp Krusty, but the main story is a little too dire for my liking, and it makes very little sense to me to have it be the Season 4 premiere. I know it's a holdover from Season 3, but then it reminds me why I don't love the first 3 seasons as much as 4 through 8. Despite my gripes, it's a solid episode overall, which Kamp Krusty fails to be. Why would you make a sequel episode that has virtually nothing to do with the original, except Homer's subplot yet again being the highlight, with the little Homers in his head being fairly entertaining? At least they didn't throw out his name.
SpongeBob reference. Jims, would you like to get the third one?
Yes. This one's from Zora Buena Onda. Kamp Krusty. Pretty hilarious. I love how the camp is so overly negligent and cruel. The rebellion is pretty great as well. 9 out of 10. Whereas Kamp Krustier, retcons way too much about the original episode, unfunny, and in general a waste of time. The subplot is just a rehash of a lot of past episodes. 3 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Homer and Marge having marital issues is a tale as old as time.
Yeah, you can't have a cartoon sitcom that's rather adult without having marital issues.
Yeah, I think about 25% of Simpsons episodes have some kind of Homer Marge relationship issue in it.
Dude, even in season 1 they did this 3 times. Season 1, which is 11 episodes long. All right, yeah, that about says it. Monsters, you got trivia for us?
I do have trivia. This is Guess That Simpsons episode. I'm going to be reading off a synopsis. So I'll have you guess the season that it's from and the title of the episode. You get a point for each. It's not like an all or nothing thing.
So season and title?
Yep, and I'll have Pieguy go first, and then after he goes, I'll have you go, Jim.
Okay.
All right.
And we got 5 prompts?
Yep, 5 prompts. All right, starting with the first one. The synopsis is, Bart is caught attempting to shoplift a video game. Now, Pieguy, I need the season and the episode title.
Oh, I love this episode. It's Marge Not Be Proud, and it's a Christmas episode, and it's from...
I'm on the edge of my seat.
It's season 8?
All right, and Jims?
Okay, that one's one of my favorite episodes. It's Marge Be Not Proud, season 7.
Okay, now, Jims, because I'm going to be a stickler, I'm not going to give you any points for that because it's Marge Not Be Proud, not Marge Be Not Proud.
What?
And Pie,
it is Marge Be Not Proud.
Are you sure?
Am I been crazy this entire time?
It's Marge Be Not Proud. Wait. Yeah, no, it's Marge Be Not Proud. That's it, right, Monsters? Wait, I said that, right? What is happening?
No, you said Marge Not Be Proud, and then I said Marge Be Not Proud. We need a referee. We need to go to the videotape.
So it is Marge Be Not Proud. I wrote that down wrong. I'll just give you both the points for that because that was a mess up on my point or on my part. But both of you got the season incorrect. Jims, I believe you said season 7. Pie, I believe you said season 8. It's season 4.
What? No, it's not.
It's season 7.
Monsters, where are you getting this trivia from, boy?
That is season 7. I was wrong. I don't know why I had that down wrong. I was in a rush. All right, so Jim's got that correct.
Okay, I'm giving him the side eye on every question now.
No,
I completely butchered that. Jims, you got 2 points for that. Pie, you got 1.
No, give me 0. I didn't get any. It's fine.
We'll just say it's 1-1. Who cares? It's just for fun anyway.
No, this is serious, Jims. There's a prize at the end. No, there's not.
No. All right, Jims, you have 2. Pie, you have 1.
Okay, sure.
All right.
I'll accept the lead.
All right, let's hope that I have everything in order for this next one. Prompt number 2. The fate of Springfield Elementary rests on Bart and his test scores, and Homer finds ways to make money by with his own parking meter.
Oh, God.
His test score. This is a later episode.
It's gotta be, because Bart Gets an F that doesn't have a subplot with Homer being a meter maid. I don't believe. I have nothing. I'm gonna guess a number for the season. Oh, I'll guess a name too. The name of the episode is Bart Gets a Z. And it's from season 22.
All right. And Jims?
Okay. The name that leaped out to me was How the Test Was Won. And because I think that's the one where they go to like Otto takes them to the junkyard or something.
Okay.
Although maybe it's Bart Gets a Z. I'll go with How the Test Was Won. And then I'm going to say that's from season, I don't know, 20.
All right. Unfortunately, neither of you got either of those correct. The correct episode title is A Test Before Trying.
Oh.
And it's from season 24.
Wow.
Never seen it.
Yeah, I have seen this episode. I just couldn't remember.
Score still stands. Jim's at 2, Pie at 1. Let's move on to the third prompt. The townspeople soon get sick of all of the presidential candidates sucking up to them and decide to support their own write-in candidate.
What is this?
This sounds almost Citizen Kang-y, but that can't be right because that's only one segment. Dude, I don't. I got nothing. I'll make up a title. It'll be like, Write In, Fight In, and it's from season 29. 29. Yeah, we're up to season 30, right? I didn't say a number that was higher than what we're at.
Yeah, I think we're at season 30.
We're in 31, I think.
Okay. All right. There we go.
All right.
Right and Fight in season 29.
All right.
I love that episode. It's my favorite.
Any guesses, Jim?
So it's a writing candidate. They did an election episode where I think Ralph ran as like a third party or something. So I'm gonna guess E pluribus Wiggum, and I'm gonna say it was. See, I don't know these later seasons very well, so I'm gonna go like season 26.
All right, so Jims, you got the title correct. It is E pluribus Wiggum. But
I can see why you didn't mention Ralph, because that kind of gives it away.
Yeah, the original description had it after it said writing candidate. It said like : Ralph Wiggum, but yeah, I didn't include that. But yeah, so that's the correct title, but it's from season 19.
19?
Yes.
Wow.
Earlier. I like that that's an earlier season.
Anything after the Simpsons movie to me feels like modern Simpsons, even though that's terrible because that's like 13 seasons.
All right, but yeah, you got another point. So you're at 3. Pi, you're still at 1. Fourth prompt. The Simpsons' house has been inspected of having termites and must temporarily live in a house that takes them back to 1895.
For some reason, an Edgar Allan Poe joke comes into my mind, but I don't know why. Maybe I might be thinking of the Treehouse of Horror where they move into the murder house or whatever. I still have nothing. I don't know. Termites of Endearment. Season 17.
That sounds like the kind of name they would come up
Yeah,
with.
that's a pretty good one.
Are you writing for The Simpsons?
I probably will be in 10 years. They'll take anyone. No, I'm just kidding.
What season did you have in mind?
I said 17, I think.
Okay. So, Termites of Endearment, season 17. All right. And Jims?
Let me work through this. This was the one where they went on the reality show for This Old House. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's a Beatles reference. The name of what is that song?
It is a Beatles reference.
It's Helter Skelter, and it's like season. It's like in the middle, like teens. I think it's like season. I think it's a Scully episode, so season 12. I'll go with.
All right. Well, it is Helter Skelter. Love the Beatles. So you got that, but it's from season 14.
Doggone it! It's a Gene episode.
Close enough though. So yeah, you're at 4 points. Pi, you're at 1. Unfortunately, you don't have a chance to take the lead.
All right, monsters, come on. It's fine.
All right, but let's move on to the final prompt, and that is: when Homer loses $5,000 at a poker game with Broadway legend Laney Fontaine, the only way he is able to settle the bet is if he loans Lisa to Laney for a month. Laney turns Lisa into a showbiz kid, and Marge and Homer fear they made a mistake by letting her go.
Wait.
She's a showbiz kid.
I thought this was gonna be the Ocean's parody.
Oh, the book job.
Yeah, which I was gonna say I know because I saw a video about it, but no, it ain't that. Oh boy. I'm gonna call it Hannah Least Tana, and it's from
You should get a point just for that.
It's from season 15.
Okay. And Jims?
I think season 15, I don't think Hannah Montana was even I don't know. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So Lisa's in show business. I'm trying to remember how she got there, because they did that one where she was like a clown with Krusty.
She upstages
The
Bart.
way Lisa gets into show business is by Homer losing a poker game and lending her to Laney Fontaine for a month.
Okay, I'm just going to guess it anyway, because I can't think of another Lisa show business episode. So I'm going to go All About Lisa, and that's like a season 26 episode. I don't know.
All right, so
I hate why do you pick so many late seasons, man?
I know.
I'm so bad at these.
Hey,
Come on, Monsters.
Pieguy has been increasingly asking me to get tougher with these trivia, so I'm taking that to heart.
Okay.
All right, so close. It was season 27, and the name of the episode is Lisa with an S.
Wow.
I don't know the reference. Yeah, well played all around. Pi, you had a point.
I got a pity point.
Jims, you had 4.
Hooray.
Not bad, all things considered.
I can keep my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next week on The Recast, we continue our Disney-thon by covering 2 of the best Gravity Falls episodes. Season 1's Fight Fighters and Season 2's Seuss and the Real Girl. It should be a real treat, so join us for that next week. Jims, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Jims.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the invitation. It was really fun being on you guys' show and talking about something other than Simpsons, like the HBO Max stuff. Sorry, I like have never watched an episode of SpongeBob. I'm sorry.
You're good,
Like,
man.
But I feel like I'm coming into like a different world right now. But
We
yeah,
appreciate the different perspective.
yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. I really enjoyed being on this. And Pieguy, you've been a big supporter of the YouTube channel, so I appreciate like all the little shout outs you've done and the suggestion for that show. You've been really great and helpful. Like I even sent you that video clip that you previewed to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. So yeah, like thank you.
If you haven't checked it out, it's TheRealJims. You'll know you're in the right place if there's a bunch of Simpsons videos. Also, there's a Yoshi profile picture.
For a Simpsons channel, of course.
Yeah, that's how you know you're in the right place.
Yeah, I just can't get rid of it for some reason.
That's fair. It's a cute picture. It's just I'm always like, am I on the right Real Gyms? There are fake gyms out there. It's believe it or not, it's a name that other people have. So
my channel is run very, very poorly, as you can tell.
What?
Like the fact that it's still called TheRealJims and has a Yoshi as the name, like clearly I don't care about SEO. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
No, you care about integrity and artistry and making great videos that are really fun.
Okay.
Monsters, thank you for joining me again this week, and thank you for
Of course.
Arranging stuff. And
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank
happy
you
birthday.
again. Thank you again, guys. All right, and with that, Pieguy rules out.
Catch you guys next time.
Bye.